Three types of karma: Agamya, Prarabdha, and Sanchita. Sanchit karma is like a bank, a reserve bank. Understand? This may not be the first time you have taken the body and come to planet Earth. You may have taken millions of bodies before. In those millions of bodies, whatever thoughts you had, whatever you spoke, whatever you did, all those unfulfilled experiences have become our engrams, engraved memories. Put together, they are like a bank called Sanchit Karma. But when I say bank, I don't mean a saving or reserve. I mean it is a debt. You will have to pay back all the loans. The next type of karma is Prarabdha karma. Prarabdha means this: from the Sanchita bank of karma, you have taken some out of which you create your present body. You then decide to enjoy and exhaust all those karmas that you brought with you through that body. So, Prarabdha karma is just a small bit of accumulated Sanchita karma account that you have brought into this life. You have planned to enjoy or exhaust these through this body of yours. The third type of karma is the worst. It is the Agamya karma. The karma that you start collecting after coming down to planet Earth because of fresh thoughts, words, deeds. Anybody who lands on planet Earth has to exhaust his Prarabdha karma before he dies. For example, let's say you have 1000 karmas in your Sanchita bank. Out of this 1000 karmas, suppose you take only 10 karmas with you as your Prarabdha karma when you take your body, saying, let me finish these 10 karmas this time. However, after coming down, instead of exhausting your own Prarabdha karmas, you start watching others and collecting karma based on their desires. These are the desires that you have borrowed from others around you. What happens? Because of these borrowed desires, you create certain thoughts, words, actions. For example, you see someone more beautiful than you. Your thoughts multiply due to comparison and jealousy. You create karma based on those thoughts. Sometimes you talk ill of others without knowing any of the related facts. When you do this, you accumulate karma based on words. Let me explain the three types of karmas from a different angle, from a different perspective. You see, if you take all the responsibility, if you take all the possibilities that you are aware of and that are available to you in the cosmos, we call that as Agamya. There are all kinds of possibilities. You can become a fish, you can become a snake, you can become a man, or you can become a god. All these are possibilities. We call them as Agamya. There are also other possibilities that are available to you. These are not only within the field of your awareness, like the things that you know, such as a fish, monkey, dog, donkey, and a man, but also many other possibilities that are unknown to you. those we call Sanchita, the whole range of known and unknown possibilities. The whole is Sanchita, and the possibilities that lie in front of you are Agamya. You then decide to play only with the certain boundaries of these possibilities when you come into this body. That is what we call Prarabdha. See, when you came down, you decided to play inside certain boundaries. That boundary is what we can call Prarabdha. After coming here, you see many possibilities before you that you try to accumulate, that you try to acquire. Those possibilities can be called as Agamya Karma. This Prarabdha that you brought with you has the intelligence to run your life. Understand? One big difficulty is that you see too many Agamyas, too many Prarabdha, too many possibilities in front of you. Because of that, you trust over your Prarabdha, or your own pre-selected possibilities reduces. Correct? You think your Prarabdha may not be that powerful to run your life because of the Agamya, the possibilities which are in front of your eyes. Let me tell you this one thing. Trusting Prarabdha is powerful. Fulfilling your Prarabdha will take away one very negative aspect of your life, the continuous irritation. The constant irritation that you carry from morning till night is the gift of Agamya. From morning till night, from the moment you come out of your bed till the moment you fall asleep, you feel a constant irritation. We just need somebody to make some mistake and we jump on them. We are just waiting. Anybody who comes in our presence will have our blessings. That constant irritation is because we are centered on Agamya. If our energy, our inner space is centered on Prarabdha, we will not be the carrying the constant irritation that we carry now. It is not that we will not be working for relating with the possibilities. It is not that we will stop working. No, we will continue to work, but our base will be our Prarabdha. You see, the mood of constantly rejecting everything, constantly being irritated, happens because of our Agamya, because of the possibilities we see around us. We are running behind the choices, the possibilities, the Agamya. But we forget that the Prarabdha is very intelligent, very powerful. In the whole world, there are only two kinds of people. People whose inner space is centered on Agamya, and people whose inner space is centered on Prarabdha. That's all. People whose inner space is centered on Prarabdha will live their life in restful awareness. The mind that is based on Agamya will be inspired only by fear or greed. You can see this when you wake up. You will come out of your dream state only if you have a desire or if you are caught by some fear. For example, You may get inspired to wake up because you wish to send your child to school so that he gets a good education and has a bright future. Or you may get out of fear of getting late for office because you are afraid of losing your job. Moving the physical body out of fear or greed is what we call living your life based on agamya. Your actions are invariably driven by greed or fear and therefore end up being superficial actions, adding to your karma. See, in this way, you end up collecting more karmas. By the time you go back, what will happen? Your karma bank balance would have increased by the number of your agamya karma. Say you came down with 10 karmas. You did not exhaust these 10 karmas with which you came, but you collected 200 more. What will happen when the next time you take the body? Your sanchita is now added 1000 to the 200 new agamya karma you collected now. So you now have 200 karmas more than in your last birth. Again you take 10 out of that collection and come down with another body. But you only collect more and go back. This becomes a very, very vicious circle. This is what we call as Janma Marana Chakra. Janam Marana Chakra. Life and death cycle. Continuously taking a body and dying again and again and again and again. Instead, while you are living, if somebody gives you the knowledge that you are not just the body or the mind, and it is the karma that is influencing you, then the influence of that karma over you will begin to come down. You will then start exhausting the prarabdha karma that you came down with. Again, now let us say you brought 10 prarabdha karmas with you when you took this body and came down. Suppose in these 10 prarabdha karmas you have 3 samskaras or 3 engrams that have the power to put you into depression. Understand this very carefully. If you continue to obey those engrams and fall into depression, they will not remain just 3 but will probably become 10. The additional 7 karmas are the agamya karma. If instead of exhausting your prarabdha, you decide to remain with them, you collect agamya. If on the other hand, whenever these 3 engrams put you in depression, you have learned some technique to come out of the depression, then these 3 will start losing their power over you. So, over time, of the 10 karmas, 3 will leave you. Whenever you reduce the influence of prarabdha on yourself, not only the prarabdha get burnt, but the chances of accumulating niv karma, the agamya, will also come down. You stop collecting agamya when prarabdha loses its influence over you. When influence of these 10 prarabdha engrams over you stops, the agamya collection will also stop, because it is these 10 engrams that are responsible for collection of further engrams or karma. Now, let us come to the Sanchita karma. Understand, you can't do anything directly with your Sanchita karma bank. For Sanchita karma to burn out, only Guru Krupa, grace of the master, will work. Only the master's grace can do anything to burn out your Sanchita. Only intention matters. A beautiful story from the devotional Vedic scripture Bhagavatam. Krishna reached the bank of river Yamuna with the gopis, his milkmaid friends. They wanted to cross the river, but there was no way to cross. Krishna went to the river. Krishna declared, if I am a true brahmachari, a true celibate, then let the Yamuna part us and let us across. The Yamuna parted. Outwardly, it may seem that Krishna was with the girls like another ordinary man. But Krishna was beyond the body-mind. His actions did not carry the intention of any ordinary man. It is the intention of any act that matters, not the act itself. Intention is the baggage, the karma, not the action. If action creates intention, it becomes the pure baggage. Pure action with no end objective is not karma. Understand? If a person has committed 10 murders, the quantity of murders will not be recorded, but the intensity of the murderer will be recorded. It is the quality, the mindset and the attitude that carries the karmic burden. That is why Krishna says again in Bhagavad Gita that intention is much more important than action. That is the message of whole Gita. He says, when you are without intention, I will take care. Action does not get recorded. Only intention gets recorded. Mahabharata tells us the beautiful story of a courtesan and a monk. So there was a monk who lived across a courtesan's house. He used to keep a count of the men coming to her house and used to imagine all kinds of things about her. The woman spent all her free time praying to Krishna to redeem her from her miserable life. One day, they both died at the same time. Both reached the court of Yama, the god of death. Yama looked at the record of their lives and gave the decision. The monk should go to hell and the woman should go to heaven. The monk was shocked and started protesting. He says, I lived such a previous life while she lived an immoral life. How can I be sent to hell and she to heaven? Yama replied, in my court of judgment, your actions are no value. Only your intent matters. You wore a monk's robe and lived a good life outwardly, but your inner space was filled with lust. So, in the outer world, your body is now being buried with honor, but you have to suffer hell. The woman's heart was forever with Krishna. Even while her body was sold to men, So her body doesn't have anybody to even do the last rites, but she is going to heaven. It is the intention and attitude that counts. Understand this? An enlightened being, an incarnation, Krishna, is one with the existence. An enlightened being can only operate in tune with existence. He can never be out of tune. The actions of an enlightened master can never be without awareness and compassion. Since we do not have the consciousness or awareness, we cannot justify our actions by saying they are similar to those of an enlightened being. Be very clear. The actions may look similar outwardly, but the intention, the inner space, the attitude is completely different. I will tell you a beautiful story from life of Adi Shankaracharya. Once while Shankaracharya was wandering with his disciples, he suddenly felt thirsty. They were in the middle of nowhere. They traveled further and finally came across a shop. Shankara went to the man in the shop and asked for some water to drink. The man said, "I'm sorry, but I don't have nothing to offer you, but I have liquor. All I have to offer you." Shankara replied, "Alright, please give me some." He drank a glass of liquor and thanked the man. The disciples were shocked to see their master drink liquor. The thirsty disciples decided to follow the master, and they all drank liquor to their heart's content. When they resumed the journey, Shankara continued to walk normally, but the disciples, under the effect of liquor, were not even able to keep the next step properly. They went up further, and after some distance came across an iron forge. Shankara went up to the man who was pouring molten iron into the casks. He asked him for a glass of water. The man apologized, saying he didn't have any water to offer. Shankara said, "Alright, please give me the molten iron then." The man and Shankara's disciple all were shocked. The man gave Shankara the hot molten iron, which he poured into his mouth as if it was water. He then turned around to his disciples and said, "You may drink now." The disciples stood with their heads lowered. Shankara then explained, "Do not follow what I do. Follow what I say. Otherwise, you just choose to follow what your mind tells you." Understand, the very plane on which enlightened beings exist is different from normal human plane of existence. So, they do not need to and cannot do things according to usual logic. Their intention is what is important. Their intention, which cannot be explained in terms of ordinary logic. An enlightened being has no personal interest because he has no individual identity. His identity is dissolved into the identity of the whole universe. If the depth of the intention is more and of the action is less, the person is lazy or is in tamas. If the depth of intention and the action is same, the person is in restless action or rajas. If there is no intention but only the action, he is in purposeless action or sattva. That is why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, fight, O Arjuna. It is not the act of killing that will be recorded, but the intention that will be recorded. The intention of Arjun is the intention of Krishna, who is being with no intentions, as he is one with the cosmos. When you act in tune with the cosmos, the whole cosmos blesses you. You attract all kind of positive coincidences around you. That is why when people contribute even a little to the cause of such a person, they are showered with abundance from all corners of the cosmos. We have 7 layers or 7 bodies of energy, which are physical, pranic, mental, etheric, casual, pleasure and nirvanic. Understand, in the casual layer, our gathered or agamya karma is completely available for us. See, in the casual body, you may have the skills to play cricket, golf and tennis. But if you get up from deep sleep with a strong intention or will to play cricket, then you will also bring the casual body. From the casual body, you will bring the intelligence to play cricket. You will be naturally led into the situations, the atmosphere, and the intelligence for it. If you go to sleep at night with a strong intention to play golf, and you wake up in the morning with strong intention to play golf, then you will bring with that, the intelligence to play golf. The casual layer is an exchange place. It is like monetary exchange. In the casual layer, you can exchange anything. When you go to casual layer, the karma of this birth itself can be exchanged if you have strong intention every day. If you understand, this is true freedom. Strong intention has the capacity to change the gathered agamya karma and the prarabdha karma of this birth. It cannot change the total sanchita karma. The sanchita karma can only be changed by the grace of master, one who is without karmas. We will see further in the next video. Thank you for attending. Namaskar.